So fun things, social things out the gate. How are you acclimating and how are you getting used to life here in Aroostook County and Presque Isle?
When I was interviewing, one of the things I found very quickly is that I had a great deal of comfort with the area. Being from northern Minnesota originally myself, a lot of the interests in the area, a lot of the geography, all very similar. So it was a very comfortable fit for us. You add to the fact that I was coming from being in a much smaller, even more rural area prior to this. And it's been a step up for my family and myself in terms of some of the things that are available to us. So it's been a wonderful transition, and we really appreciate Aroostook County.
Glad to have you here indeed. Why did you decide to apply and how did you know that this would be a good fit for you?
Well, one of those things when you start to get apply for positions that are at the executive level is looking for the types of things that an institution does and what it represents to the community that it's involved with. And I very readily, as I did research, saw the value that the people of Aroostook County place in Northern Maine Community College. That commitment and that sort of, development with us and as a partner was absolutely crucial. And for me, that spoke volumes about why I thought it was a good fit and why I thought there was a great future for the institution. Hence, I applied and went through the process.
Okay, so the follow-up question is now that you're here and that you're in the role, what are some of the initiatives that you hope to promote via the community college?
Well, I think there's a lot of opportunities right now, especially when it comes to technology. So doing some things that are really innovative and pulling us to the forefront on some of those things is really a lot of what I do. I think for the first few years, because of all of the fluctuation that's happening in higher education, my primary goal is to start to stabilize us, and then making sure that we have a lot of financial backing for the things that we need to do in order to continue providing a major resource to the area.
What are some of the success secrets that you've kind of seen in your role so far? Kind of share with us what's your take on NMCC and you thought this is great. More people need to know about this.
There are so many things that we have that more people need to know about. Not only are we a great educational institution, but we're a great community resource. So, for example, we have the Wellness Center. It is a brand new facility, basically, that is just gorgeous, and I wish more people would be coming to campus to utilize those resources. I look at the fact that we have an incredible workforce training kind of division, and we can go out and we can develop trainings for people, for companies, for industries even. And that's an exciting thing that a lot of people don't always realize. And then, of course, we've got this incredibly quality-driven academic area. And our faculty are phenomenal. Not only are they good at teaching, but they come out of industry. And I don't think a lot of people realize how well trained our faculty are and what that means when they finish the program and how they can go right into the workforce because they've got these incredible connections and these incredible people that are teaching them. So the people in this area are probably the most incredible resource I've seen at a lot of the institutions that I've been at.
I would certainly agree with that. And obviously, the extension of that is how do you all hope to, meaning those that are staffers, obviously the students and the community college, how important is partnership and collaboration, for example, collaborating with the general community, and how does that fit into the bigger plan?
Well, I'll tell you, for me, when I look at the term community college, I take it very, very seriously. Not only are we providing a service to the community, but we are your partners. We have to work together to ensure that we all succeed and we all build up. It's kind of, the old mantra behind higher education, which is we are here to help people grow, build, and be more successful in life. So when I'm talking about being in a community college, I think it is inherently important that we have our participation of our community with everything that we do. So we have advisory boards in all of our programs. So we know that we're talking to the people that are hiring or needing to hire our students. By doing that and having their involvement, we're able to understand what it is that we need to do differently or continue to do in the same way because it's providing the benefits that the community needs.
Well, that certainly makes sense because it's in a name, right? Community college, right? Yeah.
Yes, yes.
So where do you see NMCC in the next 5 years? Well, actually, I mean, talking about some of the changes, and you talk about technology, and that's evolving right now. It's high tech right now. So where do you see
Absolutely.
the community college maybe in the next 1 to 5 years?
I like that you put the 1 to 5 years in there because right now things are happening so quickly, not only in technology, but also in higher education. And I think things are going to be changing very rapidly. And one of the examples is that I no longer look at our strategic plan as a 5 or even it used to be a 10-year project.
Hmm.
We're looking at a maximum of 3 years because we have to be able to change and grow with all of the different elements that are out there. So when I look at those short-term sorts of things and where we're going, my objective is to say, how can we identify the things that are cutting edge that are still reasonable within what we can manage and
Mhm.
applying those sorts of things. So talking with our industry partners and saying things like, so how can we help you to better understand AI? How can we incorporate those technologies like AI into every program? Because I don't think it's going to be going anywhere. Does that mean I think it needs to drive what we do? No, but we still have to be aware of it and ready to manage it. So I think there's going to be a lot of changes in the incorporation of technology into the things that we're doing.
Mhm.
You add to that we have to figure out how we can better partner with all of the other higher education institutions. So doing articulation agreements with the other four-year institutions so our students can take the skills they learn here and then move them on to the next level of education. When you consider all of that, I think the reality is where do I see us? I see us in a constant state of evolution. I see us always responding to the environment and being very, very nimble. And that's a term that's used a lot in higher education. But higher education is also a little stodgy sometimes, and we don't move very quickly. So my goal is to really work with my people, my students, and my community to help us move faster to be even more responsive.
So, how do you think that initiative and those goals will? I mean, we talk about some of the buzzwords over the past few years when we talk about higher education and communities and issues like that. We talk about workforce development. That's one of the buzzwords, right? And
Yep.
tackling youth out migration and all of that. How can it? Are those goals achievable and will they have a positive impact on things like workforce development when you're talking about this community and where we live here in the
You know,
region?
I think those are all applicable, and I think they're all important. What I would say is when we start to talk about workforce development, we have to identify what the key things are for us as a state. And I think Maine does a really good job of that. They're saying we need these sorts of industries. We can be responsive in this way. The really difficult part is figuring out how we can kind of mitigate all of the politics that go around the outer edge of institutions
Mm.
of higher education and figuring out that maybe we do need some of that support, but also finding ways that we can do it ourselves. So integrating those two elements to ensure that we have the support and the financial backing to be able to do all of those things, that's the hard part. I saw a really cool podcast recently, or I listened to one that talked about not thinking outside of the box, but looking at the box that we're in and figuring out how we can be more productive within the confines that we have. Because no matter what we do, we've still got a limited amount of funds, we've got a limited amount of people, and we've got a limited amount of time. So we know that we have a box no matter what we do. So I think it's important to figure out how we can thrive within our own environment, within that box. And that's kind of one of the major goals that I have, at least initially, is to figure out what our box is so that we can ensure that we're doing everything possible within it before we start to go outside.
Okay, well, wrapping this up, I got another box for you, or rather, I should say glass. Do you see the glass is half full or half empty?
Oh, I'm a glass half full type of person. I'm always excited to find new ideas, new ways to do things, and increase that leverage within the glass. If we can push it so that it's overflowing, I will take that problem any day of the week, and I will encourage my people to go above and beyond. Because when you start to look at the glass half empty, what you do is you end up dwelling on the problems. And I think everybody around here has heard me say, if you're not part of the solution, you're part of the problem. And we're always solution oriented. So I am absolutely thrilled to always be very much the cheerleader. And as a president, a lot of the times that's what I'm doing is really cheering people on so that they know that we value all of the things that they're doing. And that value is always going to be half full. We never want to go downward if we can avoid it.
Well, it's great that you're an optimist and not a pessimist, and very great that we have you in our community and our city to move
Thank
things
you.
forward. Doug, thank you so much for taking the time to talk with us. We so appreciate you. Welcome.